In this video, we look at a design pattern called the composite. Suppose we want to enhance the drawing program so that you can select multiple shapes like lines and polygons and whatever you have. So you might actually maybe uh, have a special type of command to say I'm selecting multiple things, maybe press control and mouse click or something like that, and then select multiple shapes. And then you might want to do something fancy on that, maybe like moving all these shapes together to a different part of the screen. Suppose you want to implement all that stuff, but we still want to have the same rendering process. So this is the current rendering process in the view. What it does is it gets all the shapes from the model and then loops through the collection and picks up each shape and asks that shape to render itself using the renderer that you got from the physical view. So this is the logical view. It got the physical views renderer, and it used that renderer or passed that renderer to the render method of the shape. We would like to have this remain the same, but how can you render multiple shapes? Or maybe you want to move all the shapes. How can you move multiple shapes without referring to each one of those shapes separately? We want to only move the shapes that are selected, but we don't want to iterate through that. How can you say, I want to move the shapes that I have selected, all of them, without saying, move this line, move this polygon, move this circle, etc., etc. For this, we use a pattern called a composite. And in this case, what we will do is fairly simple. And in fact, the composite pattern is not all that hard. We have the shape class. That is what we are rendering on the screen. And that is what we are also selecting. So we are going to have a subclass of shape called composite shape. It has a collection, a list that I call shapes, and it has methods that are in shape overridden, things like render. And suppose there is a way to move a shape, which we don't have in the first version, I know. But suppose in the second version, we decide to have that functionality to move shapes, we need to put that move method in the shape class so that any shape can be moved. What we will have then is a move method in the composite shape class too. And when this move method is called, it will execute some code so that all of the shapes will be moved. We will get to that in a second. When is a composite shape object created? It is created when the user intends, when the user marks their intention to select multiple things. So maybe the user would click a button saying, I want to collect multiple things into one place. Then a composite shape object is created. And you know that that is also of type shape. So remember that. Then as the user selects each and every shape, the controller will remove those shapes from the model and add those shapes to this collection shapes here in composite shape object through the add method. So for each shape that the user selects, the controller removes it from the model, adds that shape to the composite shape. And this composite shape is now in the model. Now, after all the selections have been done, suppose the user wants to move all of those shapes to a different location on the screen, then the view would have to do that redrawing. The coordinates will have to be changed before that. So what we do is we execute the move method, giving an offset for the x coordinate, an offset for the y coordinate, saying every object, every shape has to be moved by this much. And what we do is then move the individual objects, change the shape objects relevant coordinates by this offset for every shape in the collection here. That will affect every shape that is collected in the composite shape object, and the view would then be invoked to display the shapes again. And when it displays the shape, the render method would be again having a loop like this, what I have shown here for the move. For each shape in shapes, it will say shape.render. So this composite pattern has important benefits. It leaves the view unchanged. The view doesn't know that it is dealing with composite shapes. So you can use the same code as before. Any collection of any set of shapes can be put into a composite. They can be grouped, and when you want, you can ungroup them using the remove method. Here is the remove method, so that you can selectively remove the shapes that you wish to be discarded from this collection. And then further operations will only affect the smaller set.